All right, so we got the old car here. This is the one I was telling you guys about. This is my grandpa's 68 Ford Galaxie 500. This has a 390 in it. It's probably not ran, and well, it's not been registered. You can't see that. It ain't wanting to focus, but 2010. Actually, it's stamped for 2008. So it's been a while, at least 13 years since it's been on the road, which is crazy. It don't seem like that long ago, but yeah, we're gonna see if it'll run and see if we can't get it back on the road. Gonna do a quick walk around here and then I'll get it off the trailer. I'm not gonna record any of that. I'll have to get some air in the tires and see if I can get this thing pulled off of here. So I'll get back with you guys when it's off and we'll go over the whole car. Okay, so I think what I'm gonna do, instead of trying to work on it out here, it's kind of cold and windy, I think I'm gonna try to back the trailer into this side of the shop and kind of let it down with the winch, and then we'll kind of go over this thing. I plan on, I think the first thing I'm gonna do is just make sure the thing will run. I'll kind of sweep it off, and then if we get it running, I'll take it outside and we'll do a detail on it, kind of clean it up, get this moss and stuff off of here, and yeah, so we'll get it in the shop and I'll get back with you. Well, got it off the trailer. My dad and I just, we had it backed in here and just kind of let it out on the winch a little bit at a time, and it would kind of catch itself, and it went in here really easy. But yeah, this is the 68 Galaxie 500. It's got a 390 in it. I think it's an FMX automatic. I'll just kind of do a walk around of it here. I think the thing ran probably, I want to say maybe 10 years ago. It needs a gas tank, I know that for sure. So when we get this thing, trying to get it running, we'll just try to run it off a gas jug for now till we get a new gas tank for it. But you can just see all the junk that's been on it. We'll just have to get that off the hood, and so we can get the hood opened up. Door needs some WD-40. Looks like the headliner's coming down. Not too bad. I always like the dashes in these. I always thought they looked really cool. The floorboards don't really seem too bad, but the frame is pretty bad. Up on the front, on the corners, and on the back, on the arches, it's got rust in the frame. So not really sure what's gonna happen with this thing, but at least if we can get it running and driving, it'll be running and driving. But the frame, yeah, the frame's pretty bad. See if I can show you. There's the back of the arch I was talking about. And then the front. That's kind of the more concerning spot, because that'll have a little more pressure on it, and it's gone all the way back to there on both sides. So that's a bummer. But yeah, it's been sitting for a while, so we'll get this hood popped open and we'll look under the hood. Catch on that lip. Don't want to break the hood or nothing. On that side, you gotta kind of pull these. There it goes. These hinges kind of like to go out and up. Trying not to bend the hood. It's been a while since this thing's been open. All right, so there it is. The good old 390. I'm gonna take a guess and say this has a 2-barrel on it. I love these things. Some critters coming out of here. Yeah. Little 2-barrel. Looks like the choke shut. I'm not really sure what kind of carburetor that is. I'll have to kind of look at that a little later, but there it is. I'm thinking that my dad put a fuel pump on this. Like I said, it's probably been 8 or 10 years ago. So yeah, I guess from here we'll just try to get this thing turning over by hand. Probably just see if the engine turns at all first, and then what I want to do is I'd like to take these spark plugs out, all of them, and spray a little lubricant in there or some kind of something to kind of lubricate it, and then turn it around by hand for a little while before we go cranking on it, and just to ease my mind a little bit. But I'm sure there's a little bit of ridges in the cylinder walls from it just setting, but The first things first is we just got to see if this thing's going to turn over. All right, we'll grab the old fan here. Got her put in neutral. I'll be danged. It's turning. When I spin this fan, watch this crankshaft pulley. See it moving? Oh yeah. Yeah. So we got a free motor. That's awesome. Honestly, it turns over pretty easy, so I don't really know if we'd have to pull any plugs, but I would like to get it spinning over a little more. So yeah, we got a free motor. Rotates really easy with the fan, so I don't really think that there's a need to pull the plugs and put any juice in there. But we will go ahead and keep trying to spin it a little more, and I'll do that off camera, and then I'll get right back with you. Yeah, so the old 390 here, looks like it's power steering and everything. Carburetor, I'm gonna kind of get some of these this off of here. Get cleaned up. Get in here with a vacuum and vacuum all that junk. All right, we got her somewhat clean. Ooh. Okay. Throttle cable's seen better days, I'll tell you that. Free. Might need to, this has got electric choke on it. Not really, I don't see any brand on this thing. But I'd say that the electric choke probably still works. We're just gonna have to see. Fun fact about these motors, these 390 FE motors, these were introduced when they made the Ford Edsel. That kind of started this design of motor. This is kind of considered a big block motor. The head on these, the intake manifold, actually goes down on the head about this much and actually splits. So that's kind of one way you can tell an FE block over anything else. And usually you'll see in the casting, you'll find an FE, and I'll show you. So what I was talking about on the head, you can see it splits off here. So the intake manifold actually looks like it just looks like they cut the part of the head off like onto the intake manifold. That's kind of different. But yeah, you can see our carburetor's free, so that's good. We also need to check the oil. And I'm not sure on these FE blocks where the dipstick is. I'm used to the Windsor motors, and they're all on the right side. All right, so I made me a fuel tank here, custom. I got a fuel line on the fuel pump down there, but I need to put a hose clamp on it. It looks like the fuel line from the tank was left off, so I'm hoping that the fuel pump's not junk, but we'll just have to see. I'll set you up here and we'll get that hose clamp on there and get this ran into this jug. Okay. So now what I want to do is we're probably going to end up taking this line off. Ooh, that's pretty solid. But we may take this line off, but we got to figure out, we're going to have to put a battery in this first and make sure that it's even going to turn this motor over, because it may not. So the wiring don't look too bad. I thought the mice would have gotten to it a little more than what they have, but I'm going to get a battery in here and we'll see how this works. Okay, I got the battery in here. I tested the power at the solenoid and the ground, and we got power at the solenoid. So I haven't seen nothing catch on fire or anything. Get in the car. Ooh. Oh boy. Get in the car, I guess, and see if we got any. Oh yeah. The blower motor is working. That's crazy. Turn that off. Should we try to see if it turns over? I'm kind of nervous. Nothing. Okay, so what was we getting there? Saying hot. Okay. Hot. Okay, so let me go up here and mess around a little bit. Okay, so I'm not getting nothing at the key. So I've got a trigger starter right here, and we'll go ahead and hook this up and see if we can get it going with this. Okay, so hooked up our trigger starter to the solenoid. And she turns over. So there's something going on in between here and the key. The key's not getting power to turn this over. So we'll have to figure that out later. But for now, we can use this to get it running. So that's pretty cool. So what I want to do is I want to see if this is going to pump fuel. We'll have to take this line off, make sure it's pumping fuel up to that, and then we'll hook it back in and mess with our carburetor. These clips, I should have some rubber line to replace this with. I'm probably going to have to cut that off, because that's just all. A lot of times that'll be filled with just junk, just varnish. Cut that on both sides. Screwdriver. All right. Looks like we're gonna have some, let's see, seen some fuel I'd be pretty impressed if it was already pumping fuel that quick. And it looked like new fuel, so. Okay. Wow, kind of impressed. Probably didn't really have to replace that, but it's going to leak down the road. We got our little clips here. Put these back. But we'll watch this as we're cranking and see if that's pulling any fuel. Oh yeah. Fuel pump's working good. Okay, so next step, we'll put a piece of hose on there, brand new hose, and we'll start filling this carburetor full of fuel. All right, I replaced this little piece of hose, and we should have fuel up in the carburetor now. Yep. Oh yeah, we got fuel. I guess the next thing to do is see if the thing will pop off. We got it in park. We got fuel in the carburetor, and we'll just have to turn the key on and see if we get fire. Okay, so we're not getting any spark. So let's dig into that and see what's going on. Okay, so something weird just happened, and I've been checking for spark on the valve cover before the key wasn't working. Okay, well, I took the cap off. Cap looks brand new. The points and everything look brand new, so I kind of messed with them a little bit, put the cap back on. Okay, took the positive wire off the coil, put it back on, just making sure there ain't no loose wires here because we didn't have spark. Go in the car, turn the key over, and it wants to start. So you tell me, I don't know. But we're gonna go ahead and put this plug wire back on because it just tried starting on 7 cylinders. So we're gonna take our jumper switch off of here. Make sure that nothing's in the way of the finger cutter fan there. And this thing is probably going to start, so I don't know. Better open the door. I really would have thought that the mice would have gotten to the wiring a little more, and that's kind of what I was in here looking at. And I go to turn the key, and all of a sudden, see, now it's not working. Okay. This is weird. Okay, so you kind of hear how it wants to start, and just run for just a second. And we've got plenty of fuel in it. The thing's getting fuel. It's not fuel, it's spark. All right, so since this thing wants to start and it's not going to because of this little wiring issue we got, we're gonna worry about that later. And I just want to hear this thing run. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna wire the coil directly to the battery. This thing should start right up and idle, hopefully. It might not idle, but it should start up and run. We'll see what happens here. Okay. Tap that, see if the new seat's stuck. I got no gas in it. All right, so it's actually the next day here, and been messing with the car a little bit today. You guys seen we did get it running, so that's awesome. But we're having some more issues today. I was messing with it, and the spark was pretty weak on it. I filed the points down, and we've got spark. I've got the coil hot wired to the battery, and it's just not, it's not wanting to stay running. It wants to pop off, but it don't want to stay running now. It didn't run for me or idle for me hardly at all today. And I was expecting it to, but it didn't. Our coil is testing to be good, and we got spark, so I'm kind of trying to rule that out right now. The car will not run. It's getting gas on the carburetor, but it's not wanting to stay running, and I'm thinking what's happening is it's flooding fuel in, and it's got a puddle of fuel actually down there. It's leaking. So for now, I think my best bet would be to take the carburetor off, because actually the plugs are all like soaked in fuel too, and I think it's basically just flooding itself out. So I'm gonna take the carburetor apart, I think, and kind of clean it out and see if maybe we can at least get this thing to run and move under its own power. So that'll be probably the next video. I think this is probably where I'm gonna cut this one off, because it's actually Sunday evening. I've got to work tomorrow, and I'll probably be pretty busy the rest of this week until the weekend time. So this is probably gonna be the end of this video. You guys got to see it run. The next video, we're gonna try to get it actually to drive out of the garage and maybe up the driveway if the brakes are all good. And then eventually we'll do a wash on this thing, get it a little cleaned up, and we'll see what when we get all that done, we'll see what my grandpa wants to do with this thing. So we'll call this video quits here, and I appreciate you guys watching.